Here we go. Thanks, Don. All right, so we're hiring. As you might have seen, we've raised our Series B. Don will go a little bit more into that later on. So we're hiring like crazy right now. So yeah, check out jobs.superconductive.com. There's a wide range of positions available. So definitely check that out. Yeah, we get good feedback on our interview process. So see what that's all about.
And a quick note there as well. We've also recently hired our first technical recruiter, which I think will help us enormously in terms of being able to be more responsive and deliver an even better candidate experience. So if you haven't applied yet, or if you applied before and maybe didn't get an answer, I'd say it's worth putting it in again now that we have people dedicated to reviewing and responding that pipeline.
Let's go call it done. Thank you. Some updates for the community stats. So our GitHub stars still steady increase. It's looking like our Slack users are going to overtake our GitHub stars, which is very interesting. Here's our Slack users. We had a little bit of a lull that continues to seem to happen in December and January. I don't think anybody wants to work during those months, so I think that's what translates into those dips. But we officially crossed over 6,000, which is really exciting. And our floor for weekly active users continue to grow. So thanks for being active in the Slack channel. Really appreciate it. For our PyPy downloads, we're almost at 3 million. We just started showing this slide for the first time for over a month. We just showed this slide for the first time. I think it was in November, and we were at 2 million then. So pretty amazing growth to see it go from 2 to 3 in a few months. We're continuing to push hard the DevRel team in getting PRs over the line and solving issues. You can see, had a little bit of growth in issues here. We have a big event coming up that's been taking a lot of our focus, and so I'm hoping that after we start our hackathon, which is the big event, that we'll see a decrease in our issues. We're also trying to figure out what our baseline comfortability should be for issues. I do notice that other larger communities, they could have a ton of issues, but keep the PRs down. So if anyone has any experience with that type of thing at that level of an open source project, would love to chat with you about that. So feel free to reach out. Some thanks and kudos to community members. Here are some of the recent contributions from SC Nerd, Luke, Andy Jessen, Voshtak, or is it Voshtakopal? I'm not sure because it's all in one word here. Godoy, got Moritz, and Danilo Paca. This could be dangerous me reading usernames. And then here are people that are really helping out a lot with answering questions in Slack. Thanks to everyone here, really appreciate it. So big event coming up. We've teased this a few times, and we've actually even moved the dates a bit, but we've hammered down the dates and the events that are going to go along with the hackathon starting on the 23rd. I will post the site into the chat, but I'll also show it to everyone. Let's see, here we go. So the hackathon is going to be focused on adding packages to the expectation gallery. So packages are groups of expectations specific to a domain. So for example, for the first 3 packages that will be the focus of this hackathon, it's going to be around fair AI, geospatial, and typed entities. With the hackathon, we've updated, or preparing for the hackathon, we've updated our contributor documentation for expectations. We're going to have webinars on the 3rd and the 4th, or was it 2nd and 3rd? Let's see here. The 2nd and 3rd, we're going to have webinars. So yeah, so here's the site for the hackathon on DevPost. We have over 15. We have over $15,000 in prizes, $15,000 in cash plus swag. So shirts, socks, stickers, mugs, a bunch of cool things. The hackathon is going to be focusing on who can make the most contributions toward these specific packages, as well as a prize for who can record themselves making a expectation in the quickest time, just to prove how easy it is to make an expectation. We've actually had someone do it last year in, I believe it was under 5 minutes. So you can make a contribution really, really quickly to this project, which is one of the cool things about it. Let me see if I'm missing any other points on here. Nope, that's it. So go check out the website, see the details on the website. There's a bunch of cool events that are going to come along with it that include virtual hackathon and office hours to help with contributions, as well as webinars to walk you through how to create custom expectations that you can contribute to the project. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dom. Dom, do you want me to hit slides for you, or would you like to take over?
Hey, Kyle, yeah, if you could keep going, that would be great.
All right.
Cool. Product roadmap and some announcements in terms of what we're doing in Great Expectations. But first, next slide. We announced our Series B, which is great. It's and what does that mean for us? What does that mean for this community here? It means increased investment in open source, both in the development of Great Expectations and in the developer relations team. Specifically, like, we've made some huge investments in DevRel in the last 6 months, adding all the names you see here: Austin, Ken, Hannah, Rachel, and Ruben to DevRel. Rachel in particular highlights not just investments in DevRel, but also in our documentation to try to make Great Expectations even easier to understand and use, and really invest in the quality of those docs. It also means that Great Expectations is here to stay, with resources committed to its future success. So with the Series B, we get additional runway, just the commitment and the really in the form of dollars, should give you increased confidence that Great Expectations is here to stay. And it allows us to build the cloud solution in parallel while continuing to drive innovation in the open source product. So as part of the Series B announcement, we also announced that we're building a cloud solution. We've hinted at that in previous community meetings, but with this funding, it's not that one comes at the expense of the other. In fact, internally, we see Great Expectations as the platform, like the vehicle that we will, by which we'll become the open standard for data quality. And that the cloud is really a way of making that available to a broader audience, but that all of the core functionality that you would see in cloud is going to be implemented and a critical part of Great Expectations open source. So we're going to have a high level of functional parity, and continue to invest in making Great Expectations the best it can be, the number one in the field. So that's what Series B means. I'll pause at the end of this deck for any questions. So we can go on to the next. In terms of roadmap, what we internally call the Mario pod, or the platform team, is working on is productizing rule-based profiler. So we had rule-based profiler out there already in a form, but it was not hardened. It was not brought into alignment and held to the same standard as other components of the platform. So we've been making significant investments in rule-based profiler over the last 6 weeks, and are looking for that to wrap up in our Q1. Q2, the focus is going to be on batch metric store. So we have a metric store right now. It's a little ephemeral, not as robust. The significant improvements we're making batch metric store is around being able to create, store, and address metrics. Transparently, this will also allow the cloud product to plot metrics. So you'll be able to see how these indicators that you have for your data evolve over time. But I think from a platform standpoint, it allows metrics to eventually evolve into its own data stream, where I can see, that store being there allows you to reason over event data, particularly like transitory or ephemeral event data over time, and be critical in supporting how we do multi-batch expectations. A couple of other things that we're looking to develop on the expectations front is conditional and cross-table expectations. And I know that Austin, for instance, is leading up a conversation with the community around conditional expectations, where we are looking to see if we can frame up a contribution. Next. So there's also a big focus on community and quality, making it easier to develop expectations. And a lot of the investments that we've made around the hackathon support this. A guided experience that ensures that when you develop an expectation, you have all the components in place to make it ready for others to consume, and that it's sufficiently well integrated. We also want to make it easier to integrate new data sources and runtimes. So we've been trying to take the patterns that we use to engage partners right now in either having their own pipeline runners or data sources and figuring out how we can operationalize that so it becomes much more self-serve, lower the barrier to entry to people becoming like standard or approved participants in Great Expectations integration partners. We've made some testing improvements, in particular here around DG test. So we run a fairly exhaustive integration test suite with every PR commit to develop. DG test allows us to prune that test suite so that we're not compromising the integrity of the product, but we are reducing our testing runtime. So a lot of our like contributions to expectations or to documentation and stuff now no longer have to run nearly as an exhaustive test suite as what they did historically. So looking for some improvements there that help us, but also help you when you're waiting for everything to turn green in GitHub. We've also been steadily increasing the number of type hints in the library to make it easier to develop with. So you get you can press dot after a type and figure out what its operations are. It's kind of like a war on any is how we view it internally. And some of the things that we've developed internally and are testing out through the development of the rule-based profiler are coding standards and component definitions. And as part of that, we're also becoming very deliberate about what we consider part of the public API. So methods that we would identify as public API methods are ones that you could rely on going forward, you could integrate with and consume, knowing that there's going to be reasoning around how we version, if we deprecate, how we support these things long term. Having a public API also implies that there's a private API, which right now in Python we're denoting with the underscore ahead of methods and stuff, but looking to become more formal around this, both so that you can rely on different parts of Great Expectations with greater confidence, while also affording us and contributors the ability to make changes to parts of the platform, and having those called out as ones that you should expect to change over time and not have the same stability or contract that a public API integration point would. And then finally, all of this kind of ties, the public API stuff ties into having a formal definition of deprecation and better dependency management. So some insight here, one of the things that makes developing Great Expectations interesting is that it runs in many different environments, and we don't always control the dependencies that are available in those different environments, which makes it hard for us to know when it's safe to upgrade a dependency, take a dependency on a higher version, for fear that it may break GE's ability to run in particular environments. So we're looking at a way of reasoning about that by formally declaring the environments that we support and then up-versioning our dependencies to conform to that. I think I have one more slide, Kyle. Stuff that we've been doing for documentation and ease of use. You'll see a hint of this today with Will's presentation, but this idea of the universal map that Rachel has introduced most critically in our Getting Started guide, where there's 4 steps to success in Great Expectations. You set up, you connect to data, you create expectations, and you validate. Seeing that become pervasive across all our docs is a big push that we've got on that standpoint. And so the idea is anytime you're looking at a page, you'll be able to orient yourself relative to, hey, am I connecting to data? Am I creating expectations? Am I trying to run validations? Am I trying to do install in different environments? We also have these golden paths that lay out all 4 steps of the universal map within an operating context. such as Google Cloud Platform. We've also integrated the glossary across our docs. So you'll see that many of the keywords within Great Expectations show up with little highlights that help you navigate that. And then we have a more formal and much better reviewed glossary than we have at any point in the past, which you can access under our references section in the documentation. And then finally, and this is fairly future looking right now, but bringing back hero experiences that we had in previous versions of Great Expectations, where with a few lines of code, you can traverse all 4 steps and get to validating data, which is really why you're using the product as quickly and easily as possible. So you can look for some developments there. Okay, any questions? Is UI development on the roadmap? I think yes, largely in the form of our cloud product. So Great Expectations is a Python library. It will continue to be one, if that's what you're asking. But the idea of integrating an easy onboarding experience and transition to cloud is part of that. And the cloud does provide a rich UI for being able to configure and define expectations, amongst other things. Okay, in the interest of time, I'll keep an eye on the chat, and otherwise turn it over to Will.